Have you seen the Rogue One trailer yet,
Yes.
by the way? Amazing.
It's great.
Oh, my God.
Really good.
Now, what do you make of these theories going around that Felicity may play Rey's mom?
I mean, I'm not being funny, you guys, but just because she's white and got brown hair, do you
not
know
my
what
theory.
I mean? Like, it doesn't mean she's my mum.
Right.
There has been an awakening. Have you felt it?
The Force is strong in my family. The Force is strong in my family. My father has it. My father has it. I have it. I have it. My sister has it. My sister has it. You have that power too. You have that power too. In time, you'll learn to use it as I have.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Chewie, we're home.
My Nerd World.
And welcome to it for episode number 47 of the My Nerd World Star Wars podcast. I am your host, John Justice, and it's not my fault. It's not my fault if some of the driving creative forces behind the highest grossing box office film of all time in North America, okay, don't understand what their comments do to the fandom and the theories that are out there and the speculation train that we all get to hop on board when you go out there and make comments like you made this week. It is not my fault. Yes, we're talking about Rey and her parents again. And this is partly MTV's fault. It's partly Daisy Ridley's fault. It's largely JJ Abrams' fault for being a dummy and making seemingly off-the-cuff remarks about Rey's parents in the movie. This is what I don't understand. So we have audio. You heard a snippet just a moment ago of Daisy Ridley talking with MTV after the MTV Movie Awards, in which The Force Awakens picked up a bunch of awards. If you're into that kind of thing, doesn't get snubbed at the Oscars, but ends up winning, Best Picture for the MTV Movie Awards. Okay, so we'll play you that audio. All right, and then we'll get into the audio of JJ Abrams at the Tribeca Film Festival this week. This was actually on Friday night. He was sitting down with comedian Chris Rock during a Q&A and caught everybody off guard and by surprise when he made some comments about Rey's parents and whether or not they're in episode 7. And then he goes and walks them back. But this has now kicked open the door to tons of speculation. And it's not just speculation on who Rey's parents are, but it's also speculation on deciphering what JJ meant and when did he mean it. So, and I don't mean to tease you too much. I want to get to the audio, but I know once I start playing the audio, I'm going to begin dissecting it to the nth degree. So I just want to lay the foundation out here before I get to that. We're also going to talk a little bit about why it is so important for the Star Wars fandom that we know who Rey's parents are. I'm going to go deep on it, I think. Probably too deep. I'm probably going to think way too much about it. But I think there's a societal issue there that doesn't get talked about nearly enough, stemming from the importance of our parents, of families, and what Star Wars means. I had my stepmom, if you will. She called me. It was a couple weeks ago. I purchased the digital version of the movie for my dad and my stepmom for Christmas. And my dad was traveling at the time, and she watched the documentary, and she was really, really moved by watching the documentary and knew that I hadn't watched it yet because I was waiting for the Blu-ray to come out. And it's funny because the end of the documentary, I know now what she was kind of zeroing in on at the end of the Journey to the Force Awakens documentary on the Blu-ray. and digital release. They talk about, and Carrie Fisher talks about, and those involved in the documentary talk about how Star Wars fandom is a family and how it does go deep and how it is a tie that binds much like the Force does. And I think that directly relates to why in the fandom people want to know who Rey's parents are. There's a lot of different reasons, right? Largely stemming from Darth Vader. No, I am your father, right? That moment in Empire Strikes Back that gutted so many of us and really took us so off guard with this anticipation that we are going to potentially get a moment like that again in the sequel trilogy, especially when you look at The Force Awakens and how much it mirrored the original trilogy. But I think it goes a lot deeper than that. And I think it goes to, again, that importance that we have, if not on a conscious, but a subconscious level of our parents. And I think we've really gotten away from that in society. I don't think we value the parents the way that we used to. I don't think we value the family unit the way that we used to. And I think that's really unfortunate because I think that it's something that's ingrained. It's in our nature. Like anything that is born, you look at the habits of animals, and we just watched Jungle Book over the weekend. Fantastic movie, by the way, and I'll talk a little bit about that as it relates to Star Wars. But seeing those relationships in this fantasy film, if you will, of these animals in the Jungle Book, and I was reminded of this in the middle of thinking about the podcast this weekend. So we'll get into more of that later on once I get past these comments. Not a whole lot of news to talk about. There have been a couple of actors that have been zeroed in on for the role of Han Solo in the spin-off movie, playing a young Han Solo. Not familiar enough with any of these actors to really voice an opinion on it, and I'm kind of waiting until we have more information, more solid information, before I dive into talking about that Han Solo spinoff movie. I think we still have much ground to cover when it comes to Rogue One before we get to that particular movie. I'm like a lot of the people in the fandom. The Han Solo spinoff movie is not one that I'm clamoring to see. If they announced that the Han Solo spinoff movie was canceled tomorrow, I would not be disappointed. And that's not to say I won't be the first one in line to go watch it. It just is to say that it's not Harrison Ford, and so you're going to have to convince me of that when we get there. And I'm sure that the directors of the movie will pick a great actor to play Han Solo, and I'm positive he'll do a fantastic job. But be that as it may, it's something that without seeing it, it's kind of hard to get excited over. I'm much more excited about the possibility of getting an Obi-Wan Kenobi spinoff movie between episodes 3 and 4. That, I think, would be amazing. But in terms of news this week, that's pretty much it. When it comes to episode 8, not a whole lot to talk about that either. Mark Hamill has been he's kind of been doing this one like goofy thing every week where he's been teasing fans with different potential leaks for episode 8. Like last week, he tweeted out a photo that if you haven't seen it, just go online and look for it. You'll find it anywhere. But it's Mark Hamill riding on the back of Daisy Ridley, reminiscent of Yoda riding on the back of Luke Skywalker in The Empire Strikes Back. I think telling us what we already knew, and that is that Luke is going to be doing some type of training of Rey in episode 8. We kind of all expected that, right? And then this week he tweeted that he was going to be putting up an exclusive photo of the episode 8 trailer, and of course it's his movie trailer, and everybody caught on to that early. So in terms of news, that's about it. So let's dive right into it, and we'll start with Daisy Ridley. MTV Movie Awards that kind of got this whole train a-rolling that ended up barreling to New York City with a remark from JJ Abrams that I'm pretty sure by now he did not, at least he didn't at the time, think was going to end up garnering as much attention as it did. And one more quick point before I play him, and then we'll get into it. I said when the prequels were being done that one of the problems the prequel lacked was that attention to not the source material, because obviously that's George Lucas, but George Lucas not realizing how special Star Wars was because he could never know that because he created it. And so there's a certain sense of wonder and magic that can really only come from somebody who has been genuinely touched by the Star Wars universe. And that's weird to say about George because he created it, but he's even said that, he would never be able to watch Star Wars as a fan, or hasn't been able to watch any of the movies as a fan because he created it. And that's why he was excited about seeing episode 7, because he thought, well, now's his first time he can go and watch it as a fan. And what JJ Abrams and what I think Gareth Edwards with Rogue One brought and will bring is that sense of wonder and magic from a fan's perspective. It's almost like the ultimate fan film, right? What's funny, though, is that while they were really, really good at capturing the magic, they still don't go deep enough to, I think, truly understand how much the fandom cares about the slightest minute possibility of a theory and planting that kind of seed when there's so many questions. And in the wake of the Blu-ray being released, I've heard a lot of people talking about how they kind of wish that JJ Abrams hadn't left so many open questions. And again, I've come to grips to it. I watched A New Hope the other day. I think I mentioned it last week. And, going back and watching A New Hope, you didn't really care and think about who Luke's father was. You just knew that he was looking for him. It wasn't really, you weren't concerned about the interconnectedness. And so let's go to Daisy Ridley, because this plays into a big chunk of what I talked about last week with Rogue One, with my speculation that perhaps Jyn Erso, Felicity Jones, could end up being Rey's mom. And Daisy dismisses it here, but I still, again, I don't see anything wrong with speculating that's a possibility, and I also don't see anything wrong whatsoever if that ended up being the case. We're being told these stories. It doesn't shrink the universe. It just means that we ended up finding the backstory on this particular version that exists. That's it to say every time you got the backstory of somebody else that happened to be in another movie, it shrunk the universe. I just don't buy that argument. All right, here's Daisy Ridley, MTV Movie Awards, being asked some questions.
Have you seen the Rogue One trailer yet,
Yes.
by the way? Amazing.
It's great.
Oh, my God.
Really good.
Now, what do you make of these theories going around that Felicity may play Rey's mom?
I mean, I'm not being funny, you guys, but just because she's white and got brown
Right,
hair, do you
not
know
my
what
theory.
I mean? It doesn't mean she's my mum.
Right.
I also don't know if that will work out time-wise, because I'm trying to think how much time has gone.
Right.
I don't know.
Do you know? I mean,
Okay, let me stop it there. But so what? And I know Daisy's not dismissing it or being rude about it, but this sort of like, come on, guys. Well, come on what? We're fans. And you've got a movie coming out with a female lead protagonist, which I'm totally cool with, who is white, does have a British accent, posh accent, much like Daisy Ridley's, has brown hair, looks kind of like her, and time-wise does fit in age-wise. There was a hint of dismissiveness there, and I'm reading into it. Don't misunderstand. I'm reading into it. There was a hint of dismissiveness of somebody suggesting that. And I guess from my standpoint as a fan, from my view, and I go, well, that seems like a very obvious thing to speculate. Especially when you consider what Marvel has done with the interconnectedness of the Marvel universe. If you were having these discussions and talking about comic books, there wouldn't be any second-guessing it at all. And I'm not saying Disney did that. Disney probably didn't do that because I think there are too many people, not saying Daisy Ridley is small-minded, but I think there are too many people out there that are small-minded that'll think, oh, you're not thinking large enough. Why would they go and make it so obvious? Why wouldn't they? To me, it would be marketing genius to have that happen. Rogue One, to tell the backstory of Rey's mom, I mean, that's brilliant. Look, there's a certain segment of the fan population that's going to moan and groan about it. The majority of individuals would go, wow, that's awesome. Okay. Let's continue.
Maybe she is.
oh, whoa.
Oh, and then she backs it up saying maybe she is. Right? Okay. I'm not annoyed. Don't misunderstand. It's a Star Wars podcast. I'm allowed to be a little bit, what's the word? Excited, energetic, right? Enthusiasm. Inflection. Let's continue.
Now, do you know who Rey's parents are?
Yes.
You do?
Yeah.
When did you find out?
When we were filming 7.
Okay. And that helped inform the character a little bit?
I think the amazing thing about 7 is that Finn and Rey don't come from anywhere and they find a place. And so to me, it's funny that people think it's so important, because I guess it is, but I don't really think it is.